Paul Haus Jr. Right now I'm 89 years old. In about 6 months I'll be 90. I'm very interested right now in staying alive because it's an interesting place to be around. Real loud thing that got me into it was the time when as a boy, I guess I was goofing around around the places I was living, and I looked down the street and I saw this little car down there. I thought, what is this? And it turned out to be, and I don't remember even what it was, except I ended up buying one as soon as I could. And the fact was that it was brand new, English, and it was being in a regular area of houses, and he was outside at the street working on it, dusting it blue. I don't remember what, but the fact was that it blew me away. I had never seen anything like this. It was brand new. You could smell the smell. I've gotten a little bit to the point where I'm so sensitive to all these things. But the beauty and importance of it was that the guy that owned it had just gotten it brand new. And he didn't say, "Get the hell out of here, kid," you know. He was like an old brother for me. He was happy to have me there, and I stayed a long time, and I went back, and one day he took me for a ride in it. I don't know what to say beyond that. And I saw that as we drove to a place in out of our area, you know, just as it turns out that there was a place that the groups at that time would go out for a place where all the cars gradually went for their whatever of the evening. They were all around this place. The cars I had never seen before. And when we drove to it, if we passed a foreign car, at that time there were very few, we'd all shake our hand to each other. And as I say, he kept, you know, I went down whenever I wanted to, and he was there, or if it was feasible to him, we'd go out. I bought it. hadn't come yet. And when the time came to pick it up, the guy said, well, it's not what you wanted, but if you want anything, this is it. Because the thing was so short. World War II. I guess, I don't know, I didn't get a chance to go into the things and find out at what part I was there, because it was early. So we had that car for a long time, and when he joined the group down here, got a job down here, he got me a new car.
That was General Motors here?
General Motors, yeah. I inherited again, I'm in trouble of not even remembering the name of it. Well, it's interesting because he was working a place up around where we lived that was making stuff for. At that time, it was after the war, because he was still at this place that manufactured metallic things, and he didn't have to go to war because he was a worker there, and he got interested in metallic stuff, metal, and went to school at night to learn about it, and that gave him a certain education layer, so that he was able to get this thing down here, and he was in charge of the roof of the place in the beginning, and after a while, when things changed in the country and things went down, he got put down in the shop areas, which was very tough on him, because he was a much more, being up on the top of the building and having a lot of responsibility on that. Being down where the things were banging around you all of you all day was not really good for a man. I guess you could call it an academy. It's just it's a real.
It was a very selective engineering program.
Well, it's for sure a major learning place. And of course they had all the money in the world to put stuff out in it. And I was living there, and I got into, this is something I hadn't thought of, they had groups who had bought houses that, I forget what's that called, anyway, and I lived in one of them, and we went to school, groups of, I believe it was two words. If I remember correctly, two periods of time, and then we go back to the main facility, and when they moved us around every part of it. They basically did smaller stuff for the cars that were made for the entire setup. I remember clearly being one day turned loose down in the bottom of this huge machine that had to have clean. They had to be cleaned out on the bottom because it was stuff that would fall when they were doing the processing. And so we guys that were younger guys and that would get the experience of having not a nice time, but it was only a day. But no, they had all kinds of things that they made for all of the stuff that goes on and in the cars. But during the war, they operated as they made fighter planes. And they would be made there, and then they shipped them across the street, I guess, because that's where the airport was. And I don't have a time thing in my mind about what was going on because I wasn't there at all. Clear on that thing, something I remember sitting in front of on the floor whenever every evening, we would sit in front of listen to what was going on in the world. If you take your life and keep writing about what happened each day, I'm sorry I didn't do that because there's so much stuff that when you think of a whole day, a whole life, all the things that have been done.
You didn't continue with the GM program. You went to art school, right, in Philadelphia?
Yeah, I after 2 years of the 4 year thing, I didn't do that well. I wasn't goofing off or anything, but it was some hard work. And it was all a thing that I didn't quite like to be in. I wasn't happy there. Back and forth and as far as taking it farther than that, at that time I was pretty clear that I like to be around cars and futz around and throw them. But I went to art school because I met a person that was able to tell me about it. And that person and I think we ended up '52 or 56 years. No, he was by another guy who was friendly to me and took me under his wing and became my friend and teacher by sheer being there with him. And ashamed of myself that I didn't even go to the things that you're supposed to go. I just couldn't do it. But I hope like hell it's might be someday, and we'll see again. But all that time, you know, I would live at home. I wasn't. Sometimes I lived up at this places that they built. But I was home. I was home or in my own house. But going on from there, you know, I was getting jobs. I at the time I had a really nice car. At the time that I started new for the first time. But I took the car down for something to be fixed on it, and I guess I looked very much like a guy that was a different guy than where this place was, where the cars were there. Liked the way I did things and wanted me to work there, so I did. And then I ended up somebody else that liked the way I handled the sale and offered me a guy. It turned out that he was the guy. Again, some stuff is missing here. That had the most land between New York and Philadelphia. He was a seller of that. They asked me to come work with him. At the time, I was when I had that job, so while I went and got, you know, the thing that you have to get to sell stuff like that. And when that came through, I went over to his place. From there, because after a year or two, I didn't make enough money, and I went over to the place that was the best of the ones in the town. When I was there working at the place for with the land.
Thompson Land.
Thompson, yes, of course. Yeah, I had made the things they put out in the field. I didn't like the ones he had, so I made those. And then I had this beautiful Porsche. And one day, I was all dressed up, standard, and went up to get some information on a possible, you know, thing I could use to sell. And it was around lunchtime, and I had this beautiful car. And on the way back, there's a place between it and where I was going that you had to go up on a complete, and I wasn't drinking, I wasn't eating, I wasn't doing anything, but I was so in my head that I didn't even realize the speed I was doing. And I started up that, all of a sudden became aware of the fact that I was where I was, and that I was right in the middle of a oncoming truck, big one. And I got, obviously I ran into him. I got over this way and he got over his way, but it went up over top of the thing. And luckily I was okay. But wow, what a surprise. I ended up just selling the car to, there was a young guy in the area that was a real guy, car guy. I knew. And he, wanted the engine because it was the last engine, I forget, that was done a particular way. There are pictures of it. Beautiful car. And I ended up with my boss lending me his car I could take. So I wasn't completely without something. And I had my life, because it was a bad one. Not as bad as it could have been. It was late in the day. I don't think it was dark. I don't remember it as being dark, but it wasn't white, either. And when I was driving it, I just put my hands over the steering wheel like this and laid on them, and as I drove, I just moved my whole body as we went down this thing, and it was quite a long, good thing. And I found it, wow, what a wonderful feeling. Yeah, that's where I didn't do right by that car. When the place I had worked before, and I had sold my there, that was a place out of Philadelphia, up in one of the places. I ran across this guy that was selling cars, and that's a whole thing I haven't thought about that's a long time. And one day, a guy drew in with his car. Now at the time I did not think much of Porsche. It was a nice thing, but nothing that I really want. But this young guy that was a buddy of the guy that owned the business came in, and he had this car. It was beautiful. I looked at that thing, the color, everything about it. Wow, I like that. And so I sold there. I sold the car that I had, which was like a car that was a major car. But I just had enough of it. He was selling it while I was there working, the guy allowed me to take it home to feel if I liked it, you know. And I said, sure, I did. So that's when I changed over. But jumping ahead later, I got involved in some American cars, and I have to, boy, I'm going to have to pull them out. And I don't know. I don't know how much stuff I have around over the years I might have kept. I hope I still have a lot of it. I mean, it's I don't throw anything away.
You know, John always said that you've got a lot of good deals on cars over the years. You know, you're the guy who can buy a car to sale and get it home quickly. And you told the story a couple times where you tow barred a car across the country.
Well, once I bought a car down from Canada. I found this one was really in a well, I don't even like to think of those cars that I got, because I don't know what the hell, why I sold any of them. At one point I had three of them. 3 out of 14 that were ever made.
We brought a couple pictures of some of your old cars, and maybe this will help jog some memory.
Oh, sure it will.
The type of taste you had when you were collecting these cars. So this is just a snapshot of Paul's property, and we want to go ahead and start from this picture, and we'll work our way through. How many cars did you have on the property at one point?
I think about 22.
22 vintage Alfa Romeos.
No. Stuff.
Yeah. So.
These are shots you took of that?
Yep.
Well, that answers your.
So that's a Lancia, right?
I don't know. There was a lot of stuff that came and went.
There's the Alfa. There's one of the Alfas. I don't remember what that was. That was an old Chevy Nova?
I don't remember.
There's the Alfas right there.
Well, I'll probably have to look at this again when I get further out. Oh boy. I should never have sold the sale, this car.
There was a lot of very fine classic cars.
Well, there was some nice ones, but an array of some sure. How did I get in touch with the first one? I knew when I had it that it was a hell of a car. I liked it, and I made that getting all the way over there to see the whole company.
So they invited you out there? How did that work?
It was a thing for people in the I don't remember, it wasn't a lot of people, but there were a group of people. One of the things we did, we went out on where they rode to check things out. And but I was looking forward to it because here we are. We had two guys that were going to take us for a ride around the thing that knew what it was. But it turned out we had three or four to a car. We used a car. It took us for a good ride, but the thing that was interesting was the first guy was kind of a little older, dressed a little bit different, and he did it. He was really good. He was the main guy. And then he did a bunch of them and then turned them over to the other guy, and I got a ride in both of them. And the younger guy, when he rode, you see him doing, and the other guy sat there like it was, nothing. And he was doing whatever had to be done.
He was more experienced.
And this other guy was, I'm going to be fast. I'm the fastest one.
So what type of characteristics of the car intrigued you so much? Was it the leather, the wood, the engine?
No different. Everything was a piece. I mean, everything was a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
As an entity. I didn't have to think further than that. I knew that this is something that was good and I wanted it.
Throughout your life, you've seen the moon landing, right? You've seen color television. You've seen the advent of the internet.
That's a good one because the first ones I saw was the neighbor up the street from our little house, with a little thing like this. And we'd speak up on the porch and look through the window. That was the first way I saw it. Wow. I was very glad I didn't have to go to war.
What Paul's also famous for and very well known around town, in our perception as young guys who knew you in the area, was he'd always find a good deal on a car. And what rings to everyone's ears is that he'd always get it home by any means possible. Whether it's tow barn at home or putting a fake license plate on it and driving it home with a fake license plate. Which you've got quite a few of those, right?
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of that going on. Back then it wasn't that serious, right? You could put a fake plate on the car and just drive it home.
Well, it wasn't long or far away to get there.
It wasn't that far, so the chance of getting caught.
Well, maybe I was just looking.
He was just lucky, but he'd always get it home. You can just put an old plate on and get it home.
So how did you get this $500 Mercedes-Benz?
Just without, going wherever I was going out, I saw it on the front porch, front lawn. And, So I looked at it and called the guy and got together with him, and that was it.
How did you come up with 500?
As I asked him how much he told me how much
Was that a lot lower than what he wanted?
I don't know. I don't remember at all. I have no world.
If you could give any advice to a young car enthusiast, someone who is getting into this as a hobby, maybe as a lifelong passion, what would you say?
It was only one of a lot of things that I was into. Because I was out collecting stuff.
So were there any cars, you've had a number of them, Were there any that you couldn't quite track down? That you always wanted, but you couldn't find?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is. And I'm under the impression that in the area here, not here, but over there is I don't even want to talk about it because it's not fair for the person involved. Because I have, for instance, I have one of these that's been bought that he bought from me and completely redid. Beautiful. But he will not show it to anybody. Maybe that's changed because I hadn't talked to him for a while. But I suspect that that's staying there. It's a shame. I hope he's using it a little bit. Beautiful car. You see it, you'll go, I want that.
Wasn't that it, Paul? So there was, as we showed in the pictures, there was probably about 8 of these at one point in time. Would you say that's right, Paul? About 8?
When?
Yeah, just over the years. Probably about 8 of these cars. What are some things in cars when a mechanical default happens? It's just not worth fixing.
I think if it's the right car,
If it's the right car, it's worth fixing.
Then you damn well do finish it. You never knew. Oh boy, what's his name now? He was a real collector. I forget what it was that he this one car that was a real collector item. And when he would go into Philadelphia to whatever he's doing there, he would take it there and park it. But he was, yeah, he had cars that were really great. But that's the things that this guy collected. He had a few examples of, and he would come in to the show over in across the river. I had a makeup because I couldn't remember over the river. And he'd come rolling on in this car, as though it had just that half minute before had been circling the circle that we were the race place that we were standing. Oh. I got a chance to go down to his house one night, and we had a long talk, and we were friends. Whew. What a guy. What a guy. Sorry you missed it. I don't know whether anybody wrote a book on it or something like that. I have to find out. Get back into the thing. I see it coming. I haven't been cured of that. God knows how much money I have left. I don't know what I can do now to stay alive. I'm getting very comfortable here. Comfortable in the way of everybody knows me. Well, it's part of me, wanting to be more aware of who I am, what I did, why I did it, what I didn't do is I did a lot of stuff that I can think now that, phew, you're a real asshole. But I would be worth a lot of money today if I had saved some of the cars I had.
What would you like your legacy to be?
I don't know. But the older I get, the more I let myself be who I am. And I'm asking that question all the time. You find out that when you do certain things, they are of the heart. And they feel very, very good.